few people. Well, first of all, good afternoon, everyone. I'm excited. I'm Lena Murrill-Chapman, excited about today's Zoom hosted leadership training. I welcome each of you who are here today, who's taking this beautiful Thursday afternoon to come and be a part of Zoom. So I am grateful to you. And there was Vicki Simmons and Paula and Teresa and Afi. We're just excited to have you here. I am going to get started. Hopefully others will come on. And as they come on, they can ask questions. I want you to relax and be able to ask any questions that you like. What we can't answer, I'm sure someone on here can. But we are going to move forward. I do represent as Vice President of NCRSP, but also my heart is in Region 4, and I see our Director, Paula Harrison, on here, and Region 4 includes Greensboro is my local, so I'm excited. Hi, Paula. We're going to get started today with NCRSP Zoom Power. And I put the word power there because, see, it's not just a Zoom. It's the power that's behind the Zoom that we have. And if you see me going back and forth, I am using double monitors because it's just easier for me. So we're going to start. This session is about hosting and learning some additional features of Zoom that we did not get in the past. But we do welcome your input. You know, Zoom has made a big change, and almost every week there's something new about Zoom coming out. It reminds me of Google, how much Google grows and covers so many different areas. And you know, Zoom is doing about the same thing. It was our blessing during the pandemic. It gave us an opportunity to see people that we hadn't seen in a few months or weeks. So we are grateful to Zoom because we will think back to pandemic days when Mike can't reach out and touch you unless we did it through Zoom. I'm going to move forward with my slides here. Uh, Okay, our agenda today will cover some of the areas. We'll talk about signing in as an administrator, as a host, scheduling a Zoom meeting, sharing the link, opening your Zoom app on your desktop and signing in. We'll cover a little audio, video, managing waiting room participants, managing our own participants, managing the chat, breakout rooms, polls and tools, other tools, and we'll talk a little bit about documents and video and sharing sound. But I like to always start with our learning outcomes as well, because by the time this lesson ends, we should have discussed the importance of Zoom and how to use the video sharing conferences and meetings. We also want to describe how to host and join a meeting on Zoom, differentiate between scheduling a meeting and organizing an ad hoc meeting, explain how several buttons on Zoom are used, describe how to invite friends into a Zoom meeting, and discuss the shared screen, chatting, and recording options in using Zoom. It's like everything else. I like to always share and talk a little bit about what is it that, what are the things that we should do before we ever open up a Zoom? And I'm going to do something. I'm going to go back a little bit because I don't see anybody anymore. So I'm going to try to see. I like talking to people. But one of the things that I like to share with you, most importantly, is the fact that anytime you are coming on Zoom, it is important that you check your surroundings. It's important that you look behind you to make sure your lighting is good in front of you, not behind you. It's always great to make sure the brightest spot in your room is on your face. And you want to make sure that there's not more action going on behind you than it is in front of you. Those are some of the things. And usually you find a good space in your house that whenever you're getting on Zoom or having your visuals there, that you sort of know what your surroundings like. You want it to be in the right mood so that your members or people who are observing you will not have to spend their time being more excited about what's going on like I say, in the background. So those things. We do caution you about wearing different colors. Uh, White is one. No matter what technology it is, it's something called white balancing. So you want to make sure that you stay away from some colors. Most of you already know what colors you look better in and what your colors are surrounding it should be. But when it comes to technology, white is our enemy when it comes to wearing like white tops and things of that sort, because it takes the focus off your face and your features and that whiteness. The camera looks at it, and the camera is constantly going in and out because it's trying to figure out what color should I set on. So you want to make sure that that's before you ever turn your camera on as well. Always, and I'll talk a little bit more about this in a minute, about please check your area to make sure that what you that when your sound is in place, and we'll talk this a little bit, because before you can do Zoom, you want to check your sound as well as your visual. Hosting a meeting, when you're hosting a Zoom, it makes a little difference than it is when you are just there, one of the participants in the room. If you do not have a Zoom on your computer, because we're going to focus mainly today on the techniques of hosting the Zoom. It's just as if someone comes to your house and how you have to prepare for them, whether it's preparing a meal, whether you're cleaning, whether you hire somebody to come in and get things ready, but you need to prepare for the guests coming in. So when you host a meeting, you are preparing for your guests. So if you don't have Zoom, number one, you have to install it on your computer. And I'm going to go a little bit fast, but that doesn't mean you don't stop me, okay? So when you want to use Zoom and you've never used it before, and you want to host a Zoom, then you want to make sure you have installed the software on your computer. You just go to uszoom.com and download that app to your desktop or to your phone or to your tablet or to your laptop or whatever you want to use. But you just have to download that software first to make sure if you're really going to host a Zoom, unless you have someone else's Zoom that you plan to use. And then when you download it, you're going to need a username and password. Okay. And we'll talk a little bit about signing in. Signing in with Zoom is once you know your username and your password, or you've made up one or come up with one. You have that, and you can use that many times. I pay for Zoom, and I think it's about $15.99 a month for this one. And the key is the fact that it's been the best $15 you can spend. Because it goes a long way. But I do caution you that what used to be free on Zoom, some of the things we're going to talk about today, they are now charging. Zoom comes up with an updated version quite often. So you want to make sure that your version is updated as well. Any questions, just always stop. When you are scheduling a Zoom meeting, you want to, the key is getting your date and time of your meeting in place, but then it is going to create for you a link. And that link is what you want, the most important thing that you want the people you are inviting to your Zoom to come and see, in order to log on. Because without that link, of course, they can't get on, just as you did this meeting. And I think we have done enough Zoom now that everybody sort of know about I need to click, and that's how I'm going to get on. And somebody's going to let me in. It's just like knocking on somebody's door, because they open that door, they're going to, you knock on your door, you're going to let them in. And then, but there are a couple things that there are members and there are people who still want to talk to you on the phone. They don't want to open up the Zoom. They don't want to do the visual part. They just want to hear it. So you still need to make sure you put out the phone number and the meeting or the meeting ID, because each Zoom meeting has a meeting ID. One of the things that I like to do, the meetings that I know I'm going to have the same day every week, I try to do those reoccurring meetings because they're going to happen consistently. Then I have on my Zoom folder from a church, a folder for NCRSP, a folder for all these other organizations, groups that I'm part of, folder for your family. So I have also within them those scheduled meetings as well. It just helps me better organize myself based on the meeting I'm having, so I won't get things a little confused. But that's when I want to set up new meetings and I want to do my scheduling. But if I'm just joining a meeting like you have done today, then I click on join on that link and I'm fine. But if I did not know that link, I don't want to put the link in. If I got the user ID, I am just fine. So that makes a difference. And it just, when I talked about the requirements of scheduling a meeting, sometimes we want to schedule a meeting and we just don't want, we want to set up our own password because it's going to give you one. And I want to use that password each time. I don't use the same password each time because it becomes a fixture no matter what meeting. And I noticed that like at church, we use it on, we'll use it, but there are people who will come in through the regular church service, but they end up using the Sunday school link for an password for an example. So I try to set up different passwords for each one so that I will make sure that those who plan to come to Sunday school can, and those who plan to go to regular service can. Those meetings we have with NCRSP or any other family member that you might have. So that makes a big difference. You notice on this screen where it says video on or off, participant on and off. You're going to see later on that you have the option. At this point, you have an option whether you want to allow your participants to have their videos on or not. When we talk about webinars in a few minutes, this might be, now the newer versions, they have put this in a different place, but you have that option. There are people, I say the babysit the young children at church sometimes when they don't want to come to church and they sort of still in bed, and so we won't see all of that. I just cut their cameras off so they can't use that camera the entire time. And because they're children, they just think it's fun, but you don't need a whole congregation watching them in bed. So I try to make sure that I don't have them. I make sure they cannot turn their own video on. Most of the time audio. So that has been a great feature for some of the things that we do. Enabling the waiting room is one of the things you see here when you're signing up, and we'll talk about the waiting room a little bit. Some people like the waiting room all the time, and some people want to just, we okay with people just coming in, and we'll allow the bell to ring and let them come in, and some people just want you just to come on in. So you have some different options you do as you're setting up your meeting, as you are scheduling. I like the new calendar that Zoom has. So you got this, the things that when I schedule a meeting on Zoom, it can automatically go to my Google Calendar. So I won't forget, and it's sort of almost like if it's not on your calendar, the meeting doesn't exist. When you are scheduling a meeting, and I want to talk about, it's the same procedure, but at the same time, there are times when you might not want a meeting, but you might want a webinar. We talked a little bit about this morning, even the sessions that we're doing for the leadership. Maybe we might have had been more successful using the webinar format, because a Zoom meeting are ideas for hosting interactive sessions when we talk back and forth your questions, and we can see you with audience participation or small group discussions. That's usually a meeting, and that's what 99% of the time, that's what we have. But then there are webinars, like a seminar format. These are virtual lecture. If you want to create a webinar where you want to just really get the information out, really get the training out, but you don't need a lot of back and forth, or you don't need people being distracted by whatever's happening in someone's home or wherever they are. or in their car when they're driving, or you may have a large group. When you have a webinar, I would imagine if we had a meeting that we were opening up to all of the members of NCRSP or Big New, that might be more of a webinar format because we got some information we want to share. And that information is so powerful, we don't need the distractions from just us being human in our own homes. So we'll set up on a webinar. If you have the newer version of Zoom, the webinar is where all of this used to be free. And I noticed that what they want to charge you $30-some a month now to do this special webinars. And it is a good feature, don't get me wrong. So you can still cut your camera off. You don't have to do the professional webinar that Zoom wants you to purchase now. But used to be all of that was free. When you go to set up your meeting behind the scene, not the, of webinar, I call it in the backyard, you will find quite a few features that's going to help you set up a webinar. I know that many of you have probably been through webinars. I know the NCAE does an NEA, do a lot more webinars than they always do Zoom, because they only want you to see the people who are speaking, or maybe the panel discussion, and that, they'll tell you to put all your responses in the chat, but you can't see anybody but them. And but you can do those features. Those are good features to have. And I call it behind the scenes. Most of us open up Zoom, and then we see people, and we are right there in that meeting. But before you ever schedule your Zoom, you go behind, I call it behind the scene, by typing in zoom.com. It's going to come up a big screen, and you're going to have to log into that screen. But what that screen does is like a website. What that screen does is give you additional settings. It talks about your profile, how you pay your bill. It talks about your meetings that you have coming up, and you see how I highlighted webinar there. It talks about events and sessions you've had. That's the place where you're going to get everybody who came to your meeting. That's the personal contact, personal devices that you're using, additional whiteboards, notes that you've taken, other documents that you have in the back, tasks. We'll talk about surveys in a little bit. Recordings, you can get a copy of your recordings if you record it to Zoom or to the cloud, or their own Zoom cloud. You see so much back in the behind the scene, but you go to that by typing in zoom.com, and then you put your password in, and it takes you behind the scene. Lots of things go on back there. If you got your computer, say, well, I don't see this on my computer, most likely it's not checked. I call it in the back room. So you need to go back there and make sure that happens. Okay, we're going to talk about the main screen of Zoom, because Zoom has a lot of power. See that? Okay, one of the main screens, most of us are familiar now with the mute, with the stop video, and this is an old set here, share content, participants, unmute, stop, and we have now the chat, the other apps, and quite a few things there and this is about 2 years old, but since then there's so many other areas that we can click on, because Zoom is changing every day. But those are your front screen opportunities. Those are areas where you can change just in the middle of a Zoom. You don't have to log out and go in the behind the scene. You can do it right there on the screen. And if you are the host, you have more power than the participants. The host has quite a bit of power, and we'll talk about that. I want to share just a little bit about audio. Many times, most of our things that we concern about is the audio of is the sound good? What are we hearing? Is my sound loud enough? And is it up? And before you even come on, if you know that past screen that I just did, the back screen, you will see here where it says audio, where it says mute and unmute, and you see the arrow that's pointing here. You notice that. I'm not sure which screen you all are seeing, but anyway, if you can see my mouse, let me know, because I have more looking at 2 monitors. But anyway, if you see that arrow, you click there and it's going to allow you to test for audio and video. It's going to allow you to do that. It's a good idea before you come on, if you're hosting, to test your audio and video. I did do that to see if I could hear and see if I could see. So I did test that on my Zoom. This is the NCRSP Zoom I'm using right now. So I know that Carol knows usually will test that screen. You see. And one of the reasons you want to test the audio, because number one, of the background noise. Because if you are speaking and I can hear my TV in the back, and you probably can hear it probably better than me, because if it got turned down. But any background noise, because it's digital, it picks up on other digital sounds. You especially if you join in a phone meeting by phone, and sometimes we just forget to mute ourselves, and sometimes but the one thing that a host can do, a host can mute you, but a host cannot unmute you. It is against the law for a host to unmute you, but they can mute you. You can ask them to unmute, the participants to unmute themselves, but you can't unmute them, okay? So it's almost like recording, and I know that Carol is recording today. And then so that's why you have to see a picture of that. The note comes up in front of us and it'll say that you are, this is being recorded. That's law, that you have to let people know you're recording. They might not have your permission, but you do need to say it. And you have to prove that you did share that. So that's all important, okay? And we talked a little bit about your video setting here, and we talked about checking your visual before you come on. So all of that's good. The background, I know some people like to use the background, and some of them use without that green screen. So you just bleed right on into whatever the background is, and every time you move, it sort of flows with you, kind of thing. And then those who got a green screen usually don't have that big of an issue, but you want to be aware of that before you come on, to make sure that that you are talking, all of a sudden nobody sees you because you have faded right into the waves. Especially when you know that that trip to the beach was really nice and you want it behind you, but you want it always following behind you on the screen, and you might fade right on into that ocean. So you want to be very careful about that as well. Okay. I love the power of the host. That host, hey, you as host, because this meeting is all about, this training is all about hosting power. You can lock the meeting. That means nobody can get in unless you let them in. Enable the waiting room. That means that people can get in, but they got to wait until you decide to let them in. Isn't that a lot of power? Hide participant photos, and I told you about that, how I have to do at church sometime with the little babies. Enable AI. Now, I don't know how long that's going to last, because AI is right on top of it. They might have to enable us. Enable polls and quizzes. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. Delegate control to participants. See, the host can say, like Carol did to me, she says, Lena, I'm going to give you the opportunity to be co-host. Okay, so she is in control. She has the power. So she gave me a little bit of power and told me that I can make you co-host. Breakout rooms, we'll talk about mute, captions, and live stream. Okay. Managing participants, even though you got a lot of power as a host, you're the one that needs to manage your participants. And that's fun. I think all of this can be lots of fun. Because you want to look at Zoom as a way of having a good time. It should be a pleasant memory. I've heard too often recently, like, oh no, not just one more Zoom. Not just one more Zoom today. And I have said it too. But you have to make it fun with your members when you're meeting with them. We talk a lot of things about I know we have always done, we pull a name with the number, Julia does some of that, a lot of it at our meeting. But we will always give somebody a gift. We'll pull the name off the list, whoever got that gift. We used to do it every meeting in Greensburg, Gifford. And sometimes we'll do it with photos or different things that we would do. But you want to make your meeting fun. We've had our meetings where we've had dinner together on Zoom. So everybody bring their tea in or their meal in, and we have nice meal. And we ate, and at one point, we were very brave. And so we actually ordered a meal for everybody and had it delivered to their home. And it had to be there by the time we started our meeting. And it was Christmas time. So we could have a Christmas meal together. And that's a lot of work now because there was about 50 people to making sure that Texas Roadhouse got the food there in time. We have played all types of games. We do the Zoom bingo. We have played trivia. We do all kind of things on Zoom, but we have to make it fun. There's a bingo game that for NCRSP that we used in Greensburg, Gifford before the pandemic. Everybody got a bingo card. So we did it on Zoom so everybody could still enjoy bingo on Zoom. But there's so many things. So you don't want Zoom to be a lot of work. You want it to be fun also. But when you are hosting a Zoom meeting, you have to manage your participants. Um, you have to keep your eyes on your participants as well, because there are people who will just come in, and that's happened to me not to me, I wasn't the host, but at church where we had these to come in and the profanity, they were just going crazy. And I could tell that the pastor's wife who was hosting it couldn't figure out what to do. What do we do? And they were just having a heyday. And really, and you need to know that you keep the list of participants open, and then and when they come in, one way you can do it, you can move them out the way, cut their sound off and their picture off. I said you can't cut it on, but you surely can cut them off, and they can't get back in the entire meeting. And that's how we had to solve that. But you have to be quick on your feet to know that you got to do that, because there are people who they get so excited about coming in and causing craziness, I call it. Okay, as a host or co-host in your meeting, you manage your participants, muting and unmuting participants to manage the background noise. You see here, I have muting, you can mute, but you cannot unmute participants. All participants can also mute and unmute themselves unless the host prevented them from unmuting. So we can prevent them from unmuting, but that cannot happen. You cannot unmute someone. The waiting room is a good feature. We talked about it a little bit. Most of you have been in a waiting room and you waiting for us to let you in or someone to let you in. And on the top where the participants list is, you will see that waiting room, and it'll say, you just have to click on admit all, if there's a bunch of people in there, or admit some, admit whoever you're letting in, and it's very simple to do, just admit them. Chat, most of us know how to use chat. One of the new features of chat now is that chat is verbal. It records. If you click, if in your back, behind the scene, if you don't have it clicked, it will record all of the chats and it will keep all of the chats. I did yesterday just looking back, and I could hear anything that went on in the chat for the 2 or 3 Zooms I had done. I don't want to hear that, so I clicked it off, but it will verbally now, because especially AI is going to make sure it records all of that. So you want to make sure those functions are off unless you want to go back and hear all of that. Sometimes we need that, but most of the time we don't need that because it's going to pick up. Then the one I clicked off yesterday and had to modify, it picked up everything I talked about. So if it was recording now, not even the record part, I just turned it on with the background and I could hear a conversation that I was having. I could hear my TV even after my Zoom was over. So I don't need it. It's like my phone. You know how your phone always listen to you, and So look for information that you talk about. If I say, oh my goodness, I need a new car, better believe it, my phone is going to find me a car. So that's the way Zoom is trying to do, pick up on our conversations as well. But quiet in here. I don't, sort of quiet. Okay. Everybody good? Everybody still there?
Yes.
Okay, okay. Just want to make sure. Let's talk about break.
Lena, I have a question real quick, and then I'll go off again and just listen. Is there a book that you can get that will have all this that you could take notes in and help yourself remember all this stuff? Or does it just come from using it over and over again?
Well, actually, I'm sure there are books. I don't know. I don't do so much paper, but
Yeah.
books. But there are also good slideshows. And then what we have now, this slideshow, of course, go to Carol, and they will keep it. You can look at it anytime you want. But if you want step-by-step directions, there are step-by-step directions, probably more on digital that would be books. I'm sure it's a book someplace, but there's one called Zoom for Dummies. You know how they have book,
That might be none.
but that is one that I have to see on. I think I saw it on Amazon. But
I just got off my shelf. I've got one that I got during COVID, Google Driving Docs in 30 minutes. So that's what I was thinking. If there's just something how do I do that? I could look it up real quick and not call you at home.
Yeah, they're definitely available.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Yeah. But the breakout rooms on Zoom, Lord, I wish I could see everybody. But the breakout rooms, I want to share today because, there are a lot of things that I see even us doing on NCRSP where we probably needed breakout rooms. That means that we could have probably gotten the business done more effectively if we had, let's say, 2 or 3 breakout rooms. And what that does is that if let's say you're doing training on, I don't know, let's say you're doing training on treasure or something. And let's say you want 2 rooms. You want one room with those who've been treasured before and who know a little something. Then you might want another room with those who've not really been treasured before, but you want to do it at the same time. You want to do it on the same Zoom. So you create breakout rooms. So if you do, and I like to tell you, you do all this in the breakout rooms or an easy way to collaborate in small groups. You see my note at the bottom. But breakout rooms also, you want to do in advance. When I create a breakout room, I already know, like through Sunday school, especially during Zoom time. I might do 4 or 5 breakout rooms. So, but I already know what my breakout room is going to be, and I might even know who's going to go to each room, or I may not. I might let them choose which room they're going to go to, or I'll let the computer choose which room. As long as I say, okay, I don't want any more than 10 people per room or 5 people per room. I do all of that in advance. I choose the number of rooms I want to assign, and I can do it manually, automatically, or let the participants choose. If I choose, I'm just going to drag and drop the names where I think they should go. But anyway, on their screen, just like I'm talking to you now, it might pop up and say you have been assigned to breakout room 1, and it might give you the title. And then you might have to click, or it just gonna automatically put you in that room. And then you're gonna be in there, you're gonna say, oh, hey y'all, how you doing? What happened to everybody else? Oh no, they in another room. We just in here together. And you assign a leader for that room if you choose. And then you let that leader handle their meeting while there's another meeting going on down the hallway, and there's another one going on behind the hallway. But anyway, all of these things can go on at one time. And let's say each breakout room is supposed to be 15 minutes. And then you got to come back together with the big group. Then in 15 minutes, it's gonna flip you right on back to the big group. And then you're gonna see all those folks you didn't know what happened to. And it's really neat to do because there are things that we're doing, even the leadership training that we have, even though we're doing it because we want to go to more than one. But let's say we did 3 today and they were all at the same time. And you sign up for one. The advantage, we get a chance to go to all of them now. But so it could have been Zoom in one, it could have been the presidents in another one. It could have been something else in another room. It could have been all going on at the same time. Now, you might not be able to go to all three unless you choose, unless we did this more than one time, but breakout rooms are very valuable. Because once you're in there, you can do everything that you really want to do. Okay, so that's the breakout room. Okay, and it's very easy to do. You set it up in advance, and it's at the bottom of your screen. See, I can't see it on mine, but the bottom of your screen, you will see where it says breakout rooms. And you will click there, and then you set it up in advance. Very easy to do. Right now, I am sharing the screen, and I'm going to share screen for a second, unless there's a question about breakout rooms. Sharing the screen, you know, very simple. At the bottom of your screen, you're going to see that little green arrow, and you click on it, and you will go to a separate screen. And that screen is going to, you'll see just about everything you have on your computer that's open. If you have any open documents, it's going to show it to you. But then what I do in advance, I pull, if I'm going to do a session, I pull the documents that I want to use during the Zoom. I open them before the meeting starts, and I minimize them so they're open on my computer, but I can't see them. So when I go to share my screen, I'm going to see those documents. I close everything else except those that I plan to share. I can do the whiteboard, which is going to give me my base computer. But if I got my agenda, if I have my treasurer's report, if I have the minutes, they are all open but minimized on my desktop. I do that before my meeting. So those are the things that I'm going to use. And if someone has something, they'll report they're going to do, they might send me all of their reports, and they are also minimized. So as they speak or come on screen, I can share that report. But I do that's sort of pre-planning that you want to do. And so, but that having them minimized makes it easy without having to go and look for them. And then when you open that screen, you will see them. Then you highlight the one that you want at that time, and then you click on the word share. If it has sound, let's say one is a video, then you want to make sure you click at the very bottom left, it's going to say share computer sound. If you have a video clip you want to share, you make sure you do the one that you click on the one that has optimized video clip. So that will give you a chance as well to have those things in place. Because if you want to have all of that minimized, even if it's a video clip, let's say something on YouTube, you want to have it minimized at the bottom of your screen. If you have whatever it is, have it set up in advance so you can switch very easily. We'll talk just a little bit about sharing multi-screens in Zoom. Most of us probably using one computer, one screen. When it's done properly, not like me today, because I've had too many Zooms today, but two screens is where you can sort of get an opportunity to see different things. If you want to see your participants, and if you want to see your slides, and then let's say you have someone who's making a demonstration of whatever, you can do that. You still will need, it depends on what you're doing. If you decide that you want two cameras going into your Zoom, it will take a physical connection. Or if you got another visual, let's say your cell phone is connected to your computer and you need to see that at the same time, but you can share multi-screens of Zoom at the same time that you're using. So, but it takes pre-planning and setting up. But that is an option. You see a lot of that sometimes when you just, in some of the meetings where they have lots of people and they have demonstrations. I know we use it a lot when we do our STEM camp because the girls are all getting ready for their presentation. So we like to go from one screen to the other with them without having to move the technology from one room to the other. We just connect. Okay, recording. We're blessed to be with NCRSP because, Karen knows, remember to record. But recording, you just need to make sure that message comes up and everybody know that you're recording, because so then they can't say that they recorded me without my permission. You just said I let them know I'm recording. And when you record, you decide if you're going to store that on your computer in a cloud. And I tell you, the cloud will cost a little, but I know that back in December, I've been recording things to my desktop. And when my desktop decided it's going to die, I lost a lot. And I thought at that time, why didn't I put some of these things on the cloud? I have cloud and or places. And but you want to make sure it is some other place. So on your plus on the desktop, it takes up a lot of your memory. So you want to be careful what you put there. But all you do is click on record. It's at the bottom of your screen, your menu. You just click on record if you want to record it, the whole thing or part of it. But and sometimes, and I would advise anyone to please always, if you can, always get co-hosts. When you are presenting and you are the president, for an example, the leader, it's good to have someone who is hosting. That's why I say Carolyn's are so important, because I don't, because I don't have to watch the waiting room. I don't have to look around and make sure everybody there, members or whatever. They got their eyes on all of that. So you can sort of do your presentation without having to worry about all of that. So you always need some help. So if possible, I would advise each local or anyone who's doing it, so that the president and the chair leaders can go ahead and preside over their meeting and not have to worry about the technology. So you don't have to think about it all. You just doing your presentation. So you don't have to worry about anything technology-wise, because it's all, you have someone else taking care of that. So, and if there's a co-host, that means the two people got the same kind of power that they can take care of everything for you while you preside. And you don't have to be co-host or host at all. You just a presenter and let them do the work. So I think that's very valuable. I just think it's just great to have a host anytime you have a meeting. And it won't be the president. It won't be a person who is doing a lot of presentations or presenting. Let the other people do the hosting. Okay, polls in your meetings. Okay, creating polls. Let's talk just a little bit. And I know that many of you have participated in a poll, a survey, or quiz. And you notice I have a sample here. Like I did have one for you. Since I'm not using my desktop, I didn't want to send it to Carol and let them do all the extra work. But I had created one about using Zoom. And but anyway, so in advance, before your meeting, I created 3 questions, and I have 3 choices. You can choose 2 choices or 1 choice, or you can make a short answer. And then I create that poll and that I want to launch during my meeting. So here it says poll surveys and quizzes features allow you to create questions for your meeting. You can launch these questions during the meeting and gather response from the participants. So when we create the poll, the quiz, or the surveys, or whatever we want to do, it just goes out to the members. And then the response will come back and we can see, like one of my questions was, how often have you hosted a Zoom meeting? I think I had different choices, monthly, twice a year, something like that. So you had to choose a choice. And that would have given me the results about how much hosting you have done. And I had like 3 questions, but that was just one of them. So it talks about making sure you plan ahead. And then once the participants put their answer in or their response in, then you close the poll out. You can even give them a warning and say, okay, the polls will close in a few minutes. You know how we do with the main election. Polls will close at 7 o'clock tonight, just kidding. But polls will close in a few minutes. And then when they close, you can download the results and you will share the results with your participants, whatever it may be. There are lots of ways we can use it with NCRSP. Because a lot of times when we are asking people what they think about this and what they think about that, we just did a survey about the convention, and Julia did a great job with the survey as well, but found a way to do it digitally because this information you can sort of store and keep. But if we did one, just an open-ended question, short answer question, then people are thinking they're in the midst of a conversation and your response would be something that they really are very passionate about. But it also helps us know the feel of our audience and our participants as well, and to see where people are. And I think that's a good tool to use. And it's real simple. At the bottom of your screen, you will see an icon that looks like polls. You click on there, and it's going to give you an opportunity to create your polls, I call them surveys and quizzes, because I also use it for quizzes with the kids, but surveys as well, but they all the same in polls, okay? It's a good feature. And it's been on Zoom for a long time, since I can remember Zoom. So, but it's been really, really helpful. Okay, I'm not going here. Did I miss something? Let's say. Now I'm going to go back a little bit and I'm going to stop the Zoom, but I want to go back to, I'm going to stop this for a minute. Everybody still there? I can see you now. All right, I am going to find one slide that I talked about, we talked about our breakout rooms. We talked about the webinars, and we also talked a little bit about the poll. My thought is that at this time, Zoom has some new features they're trying to charge us for. I just want to make sure that we're very cautious and that there are things on there that we can do, for an example, the webinar. And we were talking about the webinar because we can not hide people and just see the speaker. Well, we can do that with really not even calling the webinar, but there is a setting there where we can, when you come on the meetings, we don't have to see you at all. We know you're there. We see the numbers, we see your name, but we don't see you visually. And you will use that if you are really presenting and you got a big audience and your focus is the information is so important and you're not looking for a lot of discussion. Put your concerns in the chat, but you're not looking for a lot of discussions. And I think that makes a difference. On the bottom of your screen as well, you will see, I'm gonna stop sharing. Okay. On the bottom of your screen as well, you will notice that the different icons, I noticed some of you probably use Kahoots as well, with the kids as another form of survey. Some of you have used also live screen your Zoom. If you have live screen your Zoom, put your hands up. If you've done any live stream, that means you have done your Zoom and it's on YouTube or it's on Facebook or some other media format. Well, I just want to say a moment then about the value of that. That not everything you want to put on Facebook and not everything you want to put out there, but there are times that will be valuable to us that if you had a YouTube channel as well. See, Zoom has its own channels now. Okay. Zoom has its own channels, which means that if you create something on Zoom, this is a brand, this is new to Zoom, but they have their channels. But if you're going to create something in a Zoom channel, if you want more audience, then put it on, I say, YouTube. And you can have your own NCRSP Zoom YouTube channel, but you use Zoom to get there. It is a way because there are some skills that you have if you really feel that, and especially if you share your channel with others in your region. So that's a good way to share. Stamps are going up. Everybody don't want the email, but believe it, most people going to have their cell phone. I don't care about our age and all that, but you look at us and our age, we use cell phones a lot because cell phones are valuable to us. But look at the power behind what those who might say, well, I don't want to log on to Zoom. I don't have Zoom on my computer. But if you put it on something that's a normal app for them, then they could probably more participate in your meetings, not participate in your meeting, but see the results of the meeting. It's just like what Julia does with the website. People who might not have Zoom on the computer, but if they type in NCRSP for whatever reason, it's going to pop up. If they type in, if we had one in Greensburg Gifford, they type it in NCRSP, YouTube is going to pop up if we had it, Facebook is going to pop up if we had it, but all those media formats going to pop up because our goal is to spread the good news about NCRSP. You have to be careful what you put out there, but because it'll share by everybody. But take the time and share the good news by using Zoom to get there. If your Zoom meetings you had with your members took place and you just want to have a special link, and it's easier to tell our members to say, oh, just go to your cell phone and click on YouTube. Oh, okay, I can do that. Oh, use your cell phone to click on whatever it is, or your own app or whatever you want to call it. But you can turn your Zoom into your own app if you like to. But it's just ways that we have to find better ways to reach our members. They might not open an email, but you better believe it, they got a cell phone somewhere nearby because their children are going to make sure they have a cell phone. And they're going to click on that, whatever's on that cell phone. And, in the texting, I find that many of who we have like 15 who are not getting the email, but I can call them, and I called like 2 last week, and they said, well, I don't get the email, but I do text, a text. And I'm saying if you do Zoom, it'll take you right there very quickly. So there's a feature on Zoom that you can turn right into a text message as well. I have talked a lot. I just need to open up and see if you have any questions. With a few modifications, Julia will put this on the website, and you're welcome to if I need to send a copy. But the one thing I tell everybody, when you get ready to work on it, all you got to do is call me. I will hang in there with you, walk you through it, and I have done that many times. I will walk you through every one of those steps. And then we can get on Zoom ourselves, and I can watch you go through it and watch you set it up and watch you do it. All you got to do is let me know. Just give me a call. Okay, any questions? Oh, Carol, I guess we got a bunch of experts on here. They don't have no questions.
They are now.
They all know.
Great.
No.
Thank you.
They have zoomed out, I guess. But Carol, tell them how much fun Zoom can be.
Oh, it is great. As long as it works, it's great.
It can be lots of fun. Well, we need to do one training to talk about having fun on Zoom, and we'll play some games.
Yes,
Thank you.
that's good.
All right. With that said, then I am going to close out again, and thank you so much for showing up. I just appreciate you so
Yeah.
much.
Sorry I was late,
Thank you,
but
Lena.
thank you very much. I'll look at the first part of the recording.
Thank you. Thank you, Lena.
All right. Thank you all.
Wonderful.
Lena, that was an awesome workshop. Thank you. It was very
Yes.
informative.
Thank you so much.